Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber and alongside me is Logan Camden. But today is a very special day because it's Halloween, baby. So I am coming to you all as Liam Cohen and Logan is dressed as a pervert.
Well, I dress up like that every day. You know, I have a gig later. I can't really tell you what it is, but I figure I'd save some time and throw this on, you know.
No follow-ups? You're not going to elaborate? Looks like maybe you're going to go cook some meth.
I don't know about any of that.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I'm missing an element to my costume. I was supposed to have a great big Jags hat, the exact one that Liam Cohen most often wears. But me, the dunce that I am, having just moved, I shipped it to my old apartment. So I don't have it right now. Hopefully I'll have it later tonight, and then I can do a big, sexy runway-style photo shoot for you guys, and you'll all be able to see it. But I figure the resemblance is so stunning, Logan. I mean, when I hopped on, you immediately started asking questions as if I were Liam Cohen, asking me about some of my philosophies in terms of the run game, the screen game. What was the deal with Travis Hunter's injury? Did Brian Thomas Jr. lose his mind? And I did have the answers because Liam and I talk a lot, but the fact that I was able to dupe even you, Logan, I think a testament to this costume. We're talking about basketball today, though. We are going to talk a little football at the very end. We're going to update our top 10 contender rankings very, very fast because we just got to get to the hoops, man. There's so much going on, so much we want to talk about early in the season. And one of the most interesting storylines of the early season has been the play of the Milwaukee Bucks. So, because we are at this point where we're only a couple weeks in and we're trying to make sense of everything we've seen, the theme of today's episode is going to be real or fake, looking at some of these surprising, standout things that we've seen to start the year. I want to start with this one, Logan. Real or fake? The Milwaukee Bucks are a threat to win the East.
I went with fake just because I don't believe in it enough. Like, it would really shock me if they were able to somehow take down, like, Cleveland with the immense amount of talent that they have. But what Giannis is doing right now is absolutely unbelievable, dude. Like, 36 points per game, 14 boards a night, 7 assists, like, on nearly 70% from the field. The Bucks do get a really big win against Golden State without Giannis, which was really massive. And they do seem like they found guys that really complement and work around Giannis and have figured out how to maximize the ability of these lineups around him. With Miles Turner at the 5, I think he is a huge upgrade from a guy like Brook Lopez last season, just more mobile, can get up and down the floor, can still protect the rim at a decent level and space the floor. Ryan Rollins is a guy that really works alongside Giannis. He has had such a hot start to the year, playmaking-wise, knocking down a ton of open threes and pull-up jumpers. Gary Trent Jr. and A.J. Green work alongside Giannis. Cole Anthony has had his moments. Like, they have figured out. I want to give Milwaukee a ton of credit because it looked like it was going to be a desolate wasteland this year. This team was going to have very little to look forward to. I would have been surprised if Milwaukee was 500 or better.
Whoa.
This version, I thought they were going to – that's what I was saying is like the max. Like they could get to like 41 and 41. That was my expectation for Milwaukee.
The max for the Bucks this year? Wait, how many games did you pick them to win?
Like 41 and 41. Wow. I'm pretty sure I had the Bucks like exactly at 500. And Giannis is obviously putting this team on his back, but they have found the right buttons to push around him to maximize the talent. I'm still going to go fake here. Again, I think it is a massive burden and a lot to ask Giannis to put this group on his shoulders for an entirety of a playoff run. And I still don't like Doc Rivers. So I'm going to hit them with those taxes. And I still do think the Cavs are my favorite. But I did think about this one for a while, man. The way Giannis is playing really made me consider it, but I'm going to go with fake here. I don't think the Bucks can actually win the East.
The Cavs are still my favorite too, clearly. But the question is not, are the Bucks going to win the East? The question is, are they a threat to possibly win the East? And I think that's real. In fact, Milwaukee is my second favorite team in the conference right now. I was higher on them than you coming into the year, but I was still not high on them. I had them winning 45 games. I thought they were in that range of like the third to sixth best teams of like any of them could win a playoff series if things break right, but they're not a threat to make a deep playoff run. And the reason for that was I was specifically worried about a couple things with this Bucks roster. First of all, the lack of another creator whatsoever alongside Giannis, and them specifically trying to force Kuz and KPJ into the lineup alongside Giannis too much, because they would look at those guys as being potentially creators, and they are guys who can get shots up, but they're ultimately inefficient and deeply flawed and bad fits alongside Giannis, and guys who I don't want taking the ball out of his hands. And then I thought if they're playing KPJ and Kuz a lot, that also means that they're going to have pretty uninspiring defensive personnel overall alongside Giannis and Turner, and I didn't like the talent on paper, and I was concerned that they were going to be playing dudes who were also bad fits alongside Giannis more than I would have liked. They have addressed those concerns beautifully, though. And the first thing that I immediately loved, that I said I hoped they would do in the preseason, was the decision to start AJ Green and Gary Trent Jr. and bring Kuz off the bench. The value of that elite shooting alongside Giannis with the ball in his hands more than ever, that's going to lead to really good offense. When you spread out around him and put 4 shooters around him and a couple guys who can shoot 40+% from 3 with high volume, AJ Green is ridiculous there compared to a guy like Kuz, who does some good stuff out there and has been defending well this year, but offensively is just a very, very clunky, problematic fit next to Giannis. I love the dudes who they have been putting around Giannis specifically, but everything else that I was worried about this team has been addressed by the blossoming of Ryan Rollins. Like, all in one, he has filled so many gaps for this team. He is a natural ball handler. He's a good three-point shooter. He's a high-field playmaker. He's a really good defender with great length, and he's been super active. He's 6th in steals. He's 2nd in deflections. And he played well for them for a stretch last year and showed some of these same aspects of being a good fit with Giannis, but then he really disappeared in the playoffs, struggled, fell out of the rotation. He has clearly taken a leap, and right now looks like unquestionably a top 3 guy on this roster. And my concern was, okay, yeah, the Bucks have one all-time great player, and they have one pretty good player in Miles Turner. After that, where are the high-level contributors? Ryan Rollins looks like he's going to be that guy this year. His creation has improved. He's got good change in pace. He's a fluid, effortless pull-up shooter. He's crafty. And just look at the production he's giving you right now. 19, 4, and 5 on 66% true shooting with great defense, with great complementary traits. Having one more ball handler who you can trust alongside Giannis in a playoff series, who's also good at all the complementary stuff, and he makes you a better defense, that makes a world of difference for this team, especially with all of the shooting that they have right now, where they have this explosive potential for Giannis absolutely eviscerating any defense as a driver, and he can give you 40 a game in a series if you don't overhelp, and if you do overhelp, he can give you 8-9 assists a game, and these dudes are going to spray from deep. Like, I love this starting lineup that they have put together. I really do, and so I am a good bit higher on the Bucks than I was coming into the year, because I think everything has gone right from them in terms of choosing which personnel to play, and then the Ryan Rollins swing factor, him emerging as just a totally legitimate quality starting guard and ball handler that they didn't have on paper coming into the year based on last year. It's all extremely encouraging to me. I'm still worried about the non-Giannis minutes, and I don't want to put it out there as if like Ryan Rollins is a guy who I trust to go out there necessarily and give you 19 a game on great efficiency in a playoff series. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that he is a solid ball handler who can alleviate just a little bit of pressure from Giannis, and they don't need much there. Like, the ball is overwhelmingly going to be in Giannis's hands, as it should, because as that on-ball creator, he is doing unspeakable things at the rim right now. He is averaging 25 points per game inside of 5 feet, not including free throws. Wemby is 2nd in the league. He's at half of what Giannis is at. He's at 13. Like, it is beyond completely absurd, the level of utter rim dominance and driving excellence that we are seeing from Giannis. And this is why I was actually so excited to see the potential for this offense if they played the right guys, and why I was optimistic about a full-on Giannis ball and shooting approach around him if they leaned into that. Because I talked about this in the preseason last year when Giannis played without Dame. The Bucks had a 123 offensive rating, and specifically when he played with AJ Green and Gary Trent Jr., they had a 130 offensive rating. So the fit is better. And fit matters a lot. So we already saw the vision for this offense last year and the success that they had when they fully leaned into it, which is exactly what they're doing right now. Giannis is playing his best offensive basketball ever, fully unleashed. And then you add more talent like Rollins into the mix. Rollins is a guy who plays off of him well in every way. And I just like this formula they're putting together more than anybody other than Cleveland. And I think it's a testament actually to what we have seen from Doc Rivers making good decisions so far. And of course, Giannis just being a god. Giannis feeling absolutely unstoppable right now, being like multiple tiers above any other player in the conference. And now having shooting around him that I love and a defense around him that I think can be pretty good. I actually think the Bucks are less fundamentally flawed than a number of these other teams. If you're looking at the Knicks, who are the next, I think that defense is just so flawed, and Giannis is by so far the best player in that series, and the Bucks lineups just fit better. Everybody else, Hawks, Magic, Pistons, any of these teams you want to throw in, the offense is just multiple tiers below what the Bucks are capable of doing. I have way more questions. I'm sold, Logan. I am. I think I've been moved more by the Bucks in the first couple weeks of the year than by any other team.
Yeah, I can't get there. I think there's a huge burden on Giannis as this team's like sole creator. He hasn't been healthy in the playoffs over the past 3 years. I wonder about his availability when it comes playoff time, but more so it is the non-Giannis minutes. I hate the bench. I think the bench fucking sucks. Bobby Portis stinks now. I used to really like Bobby Portis like 4 years ago. He just is trash. And the consistency of some of the role players is like where I throw the flags up. Cole Anthony, AJ Green, like Gary Trent, like they do complementary things, and I think they work alongside Giannis. But like, not even AJ and Trent mostly. They have very defined roles. It's more like Cole or whoever really, if it's KPJ or Cole, that can give you that supplemental offensive punch. And then I think Kuzma sucks offensively, but when we're talking about a hypothetical Knicks series, I actually think he would be really, really important in a series like that, checking some of the big wings that they have. And that's where I will disagree with you as well. I would take the Knicks over the Bucks in a playoff run, but in a head-to-head matchup, I would take the Bucks, I think, to win that series because I think that they can disrupt Cat enough over the length of a full series where it would swing in Milwaukee's favor, and they just don't have anybody that can stop Giannis. So in the head-to-head matchup, I think I would take Milwaukee. But if the Knicks were able to avoid Milwaukee on their way, I think I would take them to get to the Eastern Conference Finals just because I still like their talent overall more. So I know that's kind of convoluted and complicated, but I will say I agree with you on the rest of the state of the East, and that's kind of the big take about this to me. The Pistons, I really like, uninspiring thus far. The Magic offense still looks abysmal. The Hawks still look flawed. Like, I can't disagree with you with that fundamental point, though. There's nobody that has really separated themselves from the pack or been more impressive thus far than Milwaukee in the East.
And I am also worried about the non-Giannis minutes. Absolutely. I think that their offense, for the most part, if you look at the bench minutes over the first 4 games, it's disjointed and there's too much Bobby Portis working out of the post. And yeah, Cole Anthony is a guy who can bring some punch, but he's also inconsistent. And so I do worry about that. However, I continue to feel like the emergence of Ryan Rollins now is there potential for a bit of a stagger there where he can also play great alongside Giannis, but be a guy who can carry some of those non-Giannis minutes. Or also, once KPJ is back out there, I just think he's immediately slotted into a better role when you say, be our sixth man, be our bench creator. Don't be the guy who is trying to play well off of Giannis and trying to be part of a good connected team defense and shoot really well off the catch and the things that they need from a point guard in their starting 5. If you're just saying, hey, can you bring us some offensive juice for the bench? I feel better about him there. I still don't feel good about the non-Giannis minutes, but I feel great about the starting 5. I really do, man. I think this offense is explosive. I think this defense is connected at the very least and engaged, and they have several positive contributors there. They're a little bit small on the wings when they don't have Kuz on the floor. I'll agree with you there. And that's where it's like, yeah, Kuz you can insert in certain matchups as needed, but big picture, I do think the totality of the shooting that they have with the Trent Green tandem, what that does for their offense compared to Kuz, who's just been a bad jump shooter and doesn't have the same volume or off-ball feel and just takes more bad shots. Like, I just don't like him playing with Giannis much. But there's a little bit of lineup versatility there, at least, and the best lineup that they have, I just think can bludgeon some of these teams, man. And if you look at the Knicks, it's like, I don't feel good about their bench. They can stagger the Brunson and Cat minutes, so they always have like an offensive star on the floor. But that defense is so fundamentally flawed. And I don't know, I haven't been inspired by what we've seen from the Knicks this year. A lot of this is just like Giannis is a god. Giannis is playing at an all-time level. And when he's got one of the best shooting teams around him, I like that a lot.
This is the worst East since when?
Oh, man, it's looking dark out here, dude. I mean, we've seen some bad Eastern conferences, but with the injuries, we'll have to see, because I'm still optimistic about Atlanta. I think they're going to look good. Orlando's offense has at least looked better these last 2 games. We'll see what happens with them. The Pistons haven't gotten Jaden Ivey yet, so I'm not ready to say we're going all the way back to like the 2001, 2002 range where you're seeing like 150 win team in the conference. That was an abysmal East. I think there is potential for the conference to be respectable this year, but it's off to a rough start overall. The Bucks, however, are not. But Giannis and Ryan Rollins, man, I guess that's really what it comes down to. And I was super confident in Giannis, but they're putting him in great positions to lead to great team offense now. And are you not as moved by Ryan Rollins as I am? Because I have been so impressed. I think he is so legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I gave him – did you not think I gave him his props?
No, I'm just trying to figure out, like, I guess where we are splitting apart on this
I don't think they
optimism.
are that talented of a basketball team.
They have a Giannis, and they have the right kinds of dudes around him. And in this East, man.
And I'm sorry if I didn't give Rollins props. No, he's a good pull-up shooter. He's a good catch-and shooter. He's a good ball handler. It just doesn't – I don't know. Like, the totality of this team just doesn't move me in the way that, like, where I'm like – I don't look at the Bucks as a threat. I don't.
Wow. It's clicking, man. When I watch it, it just makes sense. It makes more sense than I thought it would have coming into this season. And this is a real, like, legacy opportunity for Giannis, not to use that sort of cliche language, but, like, for him to come into the year with the roster that we were all looking at and we're like, yeah, this is just not going to cut it. You don't have a prayer at contention. And if he plays the best basketball of his life and he's able to push the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals or really make a deep run, like, that's a moment, man. And he's playing at that level. He's very arguably been the best player in basketball so far, and I think most people would say he has. I would just say Wemby's also been every bit as insane.
I would probably say Wemby, but the people that act like it's easy, I think him, Giannis, they're all balling right now.
But this year specifically, it's those two who have been the absolute best.
So, like, when we're looking at them in a playoff series against Cleveland, like, I don't trust Milwaukee's ability to stop dribble penetration against a team like that. Kind of similarly to the Knicks, like against a Brunson. I don't think they have the personnel to slow down a Jalen Brunson. Again, the Knicks have their own flaws. Like, offensively, I think Milwaukee, with Giannis playing at this level, will be able to go toe-to-toe probably with anybody else. But, like, in some of these matchups, specifically the Cleveland one, like, I worry about them really being able to slow them down at all.
The Cavs are better, no question. I mean, the Cavs just have offensive firepower coming from more places, and I think that they have more total defensive talent on their roster. There's no question that I would pick Cleveland, but is there a world in which the Cavs cannot stop Giannis whatsoever, and the Bucks absolutely catch fire shooting from deep with crazy volume, and they're able to defend well enough, and Ryan Rollins brings enough perimeter resistance and the defensive front court, the rim protection that they have from engaged Giannis, who I think we'll see more in the playoffs defensively, and Miles Turner. I think that they can scrap it together against anybody in the East. I would still view the Cavs as a clear favorite. I've been consistent on that since before the year. I would be surprised if they do not come out of the Eastern Conference. But when I look at the teams who I was thinking were going to be next in line in the East coming into the year, I just feel better about the formula that the Bucks have put together. I'm really excited about it, dude. I love watching greatness. What Giannis is doing right now is absolute greatness. And literally, the other show, I was praising the Bucks and talking about how much I love their lineup decisions and I wanted to see Ryan Rollins continue to start and Giannis was playing out of this world and all that. But I also said, if Giannis misses 15 games, they'll probably go 3-12 without him. They just beat the Warriors, who have also been one of the most impressive teams this year. So I understand there's part of like the, ooh, our star is out. We've got all the energy, and it was a great shot-making performance. But Ryan Rollins stepping up and giving you 25 and 32 in back-to-back games with good playmaking, with great defense is absolutely noteworthy. And if KPJ comes back and in any way sabotages him, takes any of his minutes usage, then we're going to riot in the streets. It's going to be all the way back to Doc Rivers on fraud watch. But right now, Doc Rivers is on props watch. You know who else is getting some props, Logan, and deservedly so? Austin Reaves, averaging a cool, calm, and collected 34 points and 10 assists per game so far this season. Is his breakout real or fake?
I think it's pretty real. I mean, those numbers are absolutely ridiculous. Through 5 games, 34, 6, and 10 on nearly 69% true shooting. For reference, no one's ever averaged that over an entire season, 34 and 10 a night. And it is right now currently the second most efficient 34-point-per-game season ever, just behind Giannis this year. But Reaves has been on a heater. 51, 11, and 9 versus Sacramento. Cooked them, dropped 41 on Portland, and then had 26 and 16 in a game winner against Minnesota. 28 and 16 in a game winner against Minnesota. The big difference to me and why I say the breakout is real is just how much more often Reaves is getting downhill. He's averaging 15 points per game on drives this season. That's third in the entire league, and he leads the NBA in free throw attempts per game with 11.6. Again, if you extrapolate that over to an entirety of a season, it's the 5th most ever by a guard. He's up there with Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, and James Harden right now. But even with all that, like, I've been super impressed with him getting downhill, the touch stuff, the scoring, 67% inside the restricted area, 66% in the paint non-restricted area. The most impressive thing to me has to be the playmaking, though, the 10 assists per game. Like, Reaves is consistently drawing multiple defenders out of pick and roll. He's making cross-court reads, pocket passes, and some of the transition stuff, too, the hit-ahead passes. Like, that's the most impressive part of this to me, is just how consistently and repeatedly he is punishing defenses for poor positioning. And it's leading to great team offense. They have a damn near 123 offensive rating with Reaves on the floor right now. And mind you, past couple of games have been without Luka Doncic because he's going to miss a few weeks. And he's been huge for them.
He might be coming back very soon, but he's missed the last 3 games.
That was the initial report that he would miss a couple of weeks. He's a legit offensive floor raiser there and a great offensive player, but the point that I keep coming back to with Reaves, and ironically, is I still wonder if they should sell him right now at the peak of his powers when his value is at an all-time high, if they could flip him for a more complementary player. And then the other side you ask, or is he just undeniably too good? You know, do you have to hold on to him because he's just playing too damn good? He's got a $14 million player option next season. He's probably going to decline that. I think he would demand much more money on the open market, probably $30 to $40 million if I had to just ballpark him.
I think he'll get the max, which I think starts at $40 million for him.
Oh, I'm trading his ass. I'm not paying him max money. Peace, Reaves. Peace, brother. Go get me a wing.
So I have conflicted feelings about this topic with Austin Reaves. I was somebody who throughout the offseason was pushing the idea of, as good as Austin Reaves is, considering the construction of your roster, you would be best served trying to flip him for a Walker Kessler. This was before they got DeAndre Ayton, but even still, Walker Kessler is way better than DeAndre Ayton, right? An awesome two-way big like that. Or an Andrew Wiggins, who can be a really good point of attack and versatile defensive wing in terms of the matchups that he can take on, and then is also a good offensive player and a quality scorer and catch and shooter and all of that. And in both of those trades, they would have been getting like assets back, a first-round pick from the Heat, and then they would have had to throw in some salary filler to make it match. They would have gotten another young player if they traded Reaves for Walker Kessler, because Austin Reaves is really, really good. But I've had those fundamental concerns about this defensive backcourt being a disaster, and that really putting a ceiling on what this Lakers team can do. Now I'm starting to question if that thinking overly prioritizes this short-term window with LeBron, and if it's realistically just not super feasible for them to get to that place where this year or next year they're going to go out there and really contend for the title. And then you start thinking maybe it makes more sense to envision what long-term a team built around Luka and Reaves does look like. And I think that that's still tricky, but this stretch from Reaves has me thinking there could be a way to build a true contender around that backcourt that I think I've previously sold short, too overly focused maybe on this shorter term window they have with Luka and LeBron. Now, to build that team, I think they have to emulate what the Mavs did building around Luka and Kyrie, which is going all in on good athletic defensive wings and bigs and adding a shit ton of size there and dudes who are going to do all the dirty work and cover up for your lacking defensive backcourt. And right now, their roster is the opposite of that. I mean, their defensive front court is bad. Their defensive personnel everywhere is bad. And that's what's going to keep the Lakers from being a very good team this year. Even though Reaves is awesome and they should have the best offensive big three in basketball, that stuff was true last year. I mean, Reaves looks even better, but Reaves was balling out of control last year offensively down the stretch of the regular season. After Christmas, he was a 22, 5, and 6 guy on 63% true shooting, and he had his offensive issues in the playoffs. But overall, they were a negative net rating team when their big three shared the floor because as good as the offense was, the defense was even worse. So the dance that the Lakers have to figure out now is how much do they value this window with LeBron? How long is that window? How open is that window? And what's next for them? So I still don't really see things coming together for LA this year. And I don't think that they're going to move off of Reaves. I don't. And honestly, again, even as somebody who was saying, if the right talent and the right fit is there, you should do it. I don't know if I could blame them for that. And I don't know that paying Austin Reaves $40 million a year is a bad decision. He's an offensive star. He is. Does he work with Luka? That's going to be the question long term. But I don't think you're ever going to have a hard time finding suitors for Austin Reaves. I guess maybe just because you do feel like you have to pair him with like a good defensive guard and a good defensive infrastructure, but he makes any offense in basketball significantly better. I mean, he is a straight up elite pick and roll player. He is a great pull-up three-point shooter. He is a phenomenal intermediate floater range scorer. He is a top-tier foul drawer. I have called him the most prolific and successful foul grifter in basketball. Like, people don't talk about it as much, but just in terms of his ability through sheer craft, not athleticism, to get to the line, Austin Reaves is the best of the best. He's got elite deceleration. He's super crafty. He's always under control. And then he's also an elite spot-up shooter. He's a really good off-ball player overall. He's willing to screen for other guards, set go screens, and he's a pretty good passer too. And that's where I think we've seen a leap from him as well this year. He's made some really nice pick and roll passes. His pick and roll game with DeAndre Ayton has been awesome. He made some really nice hit ahead passes versus Minnesota, just identifying advantages. Like, I just think offensively he works anywhere. The question for LA is going to be, does that justify all the defensive drawbacks that they have? And should that even be the top priority at all? Or are you just starting to think, okay, we're more worried about 3 years from now, and maybe Austin Reaves is a crucial part of that plan for them?
One, on this timeline, fuck this timeline. I don't think this timeline matters. If you're worried about winning a championship this year with LeBron, I think you're smoking crack, respectfully. Mm-hmm. The Lakers are not winning a championship this year. Even if LeBron was healthy and looked like himself, I think this roster is too dog shit around them to actually be competitive.
And you're saying that includes if they were to be able to add a Wiggins.
It's not a cure-all with one player. So I don't even think I think if you're trying to win a championship this season as the Lakers, you shouldn't mortgage any of your future. Like, that is just stupid thinking. The second part, I don't think Reaves is worth $40 million. I just wouldn't pay him that money. I think he's like a $30 million player. And I think with the new restrictions on the salary cap, I think it is more important than ever that you are really, really decisive with where you spend your money and where you allocate it. And I just think it would be an overpay if you gave him the max or the $40 million. And the reason, and I'm going to ask you this, and I know he looked good against Minnesota, do you really think that Austin Reaves is going to look differently against some of these hyper-athletic defenses again come playoff time? Like, do you think he's going to look differently when it comes to the playoff time? I think that is probably a bigger question than anything else when it comes to evaluating him.
That's totally fair. That's my one offensive concern. I think in terms of regular season offense, if he's just going up against drop coverage, like he is going to barbecue that every day of the week, my concern with him offensively is exactly what you lay out. It's exactly what we saw against Minnesota in the playoffs last year, when physicality and ball pressure ratchet up and you go up against a super athletic switching defense that is allowed to play with more force. He struggled, and he looked overwhelmed physically, and he looked overwhelmed on both sides of the ball. Like, the playoff series against Minnesota was a disaster for Austin Reaves, and it was a disaster for the Lakers accordingly, because they didn't have the depth and they didn't have the lineup versatility to turn to anybody else when they really needed to. Like, Austin Reaves was detrimental in that series. So I think that could still be a different story in the playoffs. However, I also think Minnesota is a really great defense that was not uniquely well built to give fits to the Lakers offense, but was one of the best built defenses in basketball to do that. So I'm not saying that that's not a concern.
If you're GM of the Lakers, what are you doing? What's your course of action?
I don't think that you can let Austin Reaves walk in any world. You need to keep the asset. And if a year from now you determine, or 2 years from now, we just think it's too hard to build a good team defense around Luka and Reaves, I think you'll be able to get positive value back for him in a trade. But I think he's too good to just say sayonara, see you later. So he's playing really damn good offensive basketball. And I just don't think the roster construction now makes enough sense. I don't think that there's enough talent. And if you were to ask me, like, for this season, who would help the Lakers more, who would raise their ceiling, I still think it probably is a player like Andrew Wiggins instead of Reaves, or a player like Walker Kessler, although I really think that wing defense is what they need most right now. But those are more complementary, needed skill sets specifically for this Lakers team, and that's why I remain not very high on their outlook for this year, because, again, we already saw Reaves looks better now, but he was playing at a star level offensively in the regular season last year, and this team still got the floor wiped with them in the playoffs, and the defense was still really bad, and the depth was an issue, and the depth remains an issue. So it's not that I'm being moved with the Lakers, but Austin Reaves is a really, really good offensive player, and I just think I've opened my mind a little bit more to, okay, if this window is cooked already, maybe I've been undervaluing him and over-prioritizing the short term and saying, who works with Luka and LeBron? Who works with Luka and LeBron? When really maybe it's more like, hey, we just need to hold on to Luka and Reaves and see where we go from there and add all of the auxiliary pieces who work with them. Do you think that's crazy? Seems like you kind of think that's crazy.
No. I mean, I said it earlier. I just don't think Reaves is worth that money. And I think right now, if I was thinking about GM of the Lakers, I look at Austin Reaves like a stock. Austin Reaves' stock has likely never been higher as a basketball player. He is on right now, before I sign him to an extension as the Lakers GM, he is on a $14 million contract that is very movable and malleable to this season, to a prospective team that I would be trading him to. And so right now, I just think you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a guy who is peaking at his value in terms of performance and production on a budget deal, where a team that you deal him to right now, because you haven't signed him to an extension, they can just absorb that contract or give you a lesser contract back along with an asset. And again, the bottom line, I don't think he's a max $40 million a year kind of player, even though he's on a fucking heater right now. And again, in conclusion, I don't think him and Luka work together long term. I want someone, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Reaves doesn't bring any strengths. I think you hit on it. What you could do with Reaves and Luka long term to make it viable and work is you stagger their minutes a little bit, and you let Reaves run a lot of minutes with the bench unit, and so you just have a great offense all game long. I'm not saying it's a bad route for the Lakers. I don't think it is, because they're both very talented players. I just think there are better avenues that the Lakers could explore than that. But yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't sign him to a deal. I would look to trade him this season. That would be my play if I was the GM.
Even though you don't think that there's an opportunity to turn him into a win-now asset who makes the Lakers legit contenders. You would just rather get the most out of
this
the asset.
Season. I would either get a future asset if that's a first-round pick, or I would get a player that – what I'm saying is I wouldn't want to go out and get a guy like Wiggins because I don't want to get a guy who is a win-now asset for this season. I think you can get a more complimentary player that would be more complimentary to Luka now and for a couple of years from now. I don't think Reaves and Luka are ever going to fully fit and complement each other the way you could with another player.
I just don't think that's going to happen.
And more importantly, I think Reaves is a really intriguing asset for a lot of basketball teams right now. Like, I think you could get a lot of value back for Reaves right now.
But everybody also knows that he's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. Now, there's not a lot of teams that have the cap space to go out and sign a $40 million player. Like, that just doesn't happen outright in free agency. But there could be a sign and trade at that point. And I just don't think the Lakers have that much leverage because it's like, yeah, the dollar value is great for this year. And then you're going to pay him like a max player. And they haven't traded him yet, and he's been on this sexy contract. And Austin Reaves, you're right, he's playing his best basketball right now, but he's played some really good basketball before, and they haven't looked to make that move. Ultimately, I think when you talk about all of the boxes that you're looking to check to get back from Reaves, like a really good complimentary young player, it's just hard to find that fit. And I think that's part of the reason why, even when I've highlighted they should be trying to trade Reaves for this guy or that guy, it's only like a couple guys in the whole league who actually make sense, who are good enough with a good enough fit to justify giving up a player as good as Reaves. So if they try to force a trade, that's just bad asset management. And I just don't think it's going to happen. I would be shocked, actually, if they trade Austin Reaves this year. I'd be shocked. I think that they're going to sign him, and if he gets traded, it's going to be a couple years down the line, and we'll see. I still think that that's a possibility. But when you have a backcourt with this sort of dynamic offensive talent, I mean, I can easily see this being the best offensive backcourt in the NBA. And it's not just that Reaves is a great on-ball creator. The fact that he is also so damn good playing away from the ball. And I think this is a guy who can score 25 points per game in this league. And I've been encouraged now by his improved playmaking to where could this be a 7+ assists per game kind of guy? I see that potential.
You think he could average 25 and 7 with Luka?
I think it's possible. I think that's possible. Not with LeBron on the roster, obviously, but a couple years down the line, if they put together a roster that is very, very focused around play finishing, catch and shooting, big defensive athletes in the front court, and all the ball handling responsibility pretty much falls on Luka and Reaves, and they stagger minutes, but also Reaves plays well off of Luka. Like, yeah, I think that he has that kind of offensive ability. I do. And he's going to do it very efficiently, too, is the thing. I mean, he's a great shot maker, a great foul drawer, #1 pick and roll scorer by volume in basketball this year. It's very interesting, the spot that they're in. So Austin Reaves is a great offensive player. Does this stretch mean that it's going to come together for the Lakers in terms of winning a bunch of games this year? No, because of all of the same flaws that they have that I mentioned earlier. But he has definitely prompted me to consider some questions about their long-term outlook and maybe be more optimistic about that potential Luka-Reaves pairing long-term. These playoffs are going to be informative, though, because we talk about Reaves' stock being at an all-time high right now. Well, its previous all-time high was the end of last season when he was playing like a star offensively, and then it took a massive, massive dip after the playoffs because of all the concerns that did get exposed about him in that setting, especially when he is alongside Luka and more bad defensive personnel, and you're just like, man, we are just leaking from every corner defensively, and we just don't need the offensive talent as much as we need a defensive player. Maybe that's going to be their philosophy around Luka for a while, but I do think it's specifically a problem with this roster because there's just so many lacking defenders, and it's not impossible to build a really good defense, not just around Luka, but around Luka and another mediocre defensive guard. That's literally what Dallas did, and it got them to the finals. We've got another breakout, though, that is very much worth monitoring, Logan. Real or fake? that Tyrese Maxey, who is slightly one-upping Reaves, even averaging 37 points and 8 assists per game, is he a superstar now?
I couldn't call Maxey a superstar. Maybe it's semantics. I think he's a star, but there's just offensive guys I still prefer when we're talking about Maxey. And I want to be clear about something. This is a great run, kind of like Reaves, though. This isn't uncharacteristic for Maxey. This is kind of just what Maxey does. Like, Maxey is one of these guys where if you entrust with him lead ball handling responsibilities, he can rip off a 4 or 5 game run where he's doing exactly this. This is not uncharacteristic at all. What is different is similar to Reaves, how often he's getting downhill. He's blending this blistering hot three-point shooting with actual consistency getting downhill. He's averaging 11 points per game on nearly 17 drives a night. He's got, I think that's number 8 in the NBA. And he's averaging 11.5 free throws attempted per game. That's number 2 in the NBA behind Reaves. You compare that to last season, that is double his attempts from the line last season, And that's why I say he's definitely improved. I think Maxey has legitimately added a new dimension to his game if he continues to get downhill at this rate. I will say, though, I think this kind of volume is a little unsustainable. He's playing 43 minutes a game right now, and he's attempting 25 field goals per game. So I do think some of the raw volume is due to regress. And I think he's due for some slight regression as a three-point shooter, where if you look at some of his efficiency on these drives, he's shooting just 39% on drives, 58% in the restricted area, 38% in the paint non-restricted area. So I think some of these raw numbers are due for slight drawbacks, but I think Maxey's a star. When we say superstar, that is just where, like, I draw the line. Where, like, say, for example, does this change who I would want between him and Donovan Mitchell? No. Right. Does this change who I would want between him and Jalen Brunson? No.
Right.
That's why I couldn't call him a superstar. So maybe it's just semantics. I think Maxey is a star, but when we were talking about those kind of players, I couldn't call Maxey a superstar. So this stretch of basketball is amazing for Maxey. I think, like I said, I think we're due for a little bit of regression, though.
Let me put it in more concrete terms then. Do you think it's real that Maxey could be an All-NBA guy this year?
Damn. All-NBA is tough. I would say probably still no. There's so many talented guards in the league.
So many talented players, for sure. I don't know if I would say that it's a probability, but I definitely think it's a possibility. Now, like you said, Maxey has been a really good offensive player. He's been a star for several years now, somebody who's capable of these offensive explosions. And part of the fun early on this year, and same goes for Reaves, has just been like seeing the keys to the offense so completely handed to these guys. Reaves, obviously, it's exceptional circumstances because no LeBron, no Luka for the last 3 games, and now he's giving you a 50-point damn near triple-double and then 40 the next game. Maxey was the number 1 option for this team last year. He's been their number 1 perimeter option for the last couple years, but the extent to which they are empowering him, the usage is just so absurd, man. You mentioned the minutes per game. He's playing 41-plus minutes every night. Yeah, that's crazy, but also he leads the league in minutes per game over the last 2 years and change. It's the Nick Nurse experience. I mean, he loves playing his guys. Like, literally, before that, it was Siakam who led the league in minutes the last couple years that he was with Nick Nurse in Toronto. And now Maxey's been a 37, 38-minute per game guy. So I do think he's going to play a lot. And, dude, the usage is so crazy. I agree with you. This can't be sustained. And if Embiid is able to ramp up, play more minutes, have higher usage, that will change things. But he's averaging 110 touches per game, Maxey is. That is by far number 1 in basketball. That's more than Jokic touches. So they are letting him run the show as much as he wants, and he's putting up these prime James Harden kind of numbers early in the year. It's been really fun. And what Maxey does have is this ridiculous combination of speed, always, and pull-up shooting when he's on. And he has been on from deep this year. I mean, 47% on almost 10 attempts per game. That's the swing factor going forward, though. That's very much worth monitoring because Last year was a down shooting season for him. He was 34% from deep, but over the previous 3 years, he was above 40% from deep overall. So I do think that Maxey is a very good shooter, but he can be a bit streaky. Obviously, he is due for some regression, but how lethal he is comes down to that three-point shot, not just because he relies on it with volume, and it can be such a weapon, but it can also be up and down for him. But the other thing with Maxey is, as fast as he is and as nasty as his change in pace is, he's never really been a high two-point percentage guy. He's not a great at-rim finisher. As a smaller guard, he's got good length, but he doesn't have that sort of crazy outlier like Donovan Mitchell bounce, and he doesn't have great strength, and he's a legitimately small guard. So he's never been very efficient at the basket, and he takes a lot of floaters too, and he's got good floater touch. He's not like Darius Garland level automatic there, though. And in general, floaters, that's like a 50% shot, maybe a little better if you're really, really good at them. And that 2-point percentage hasn't changed this year. It's actually been lower. He's under 45% on twos this year. So the inside the arc shot making is not elite for him, hasn't been, and still is not. But as you mentioned, he's doubling his free throw attempts per game. So if he is able to really lock in this shot diet of being an elite volume 3-point pull-up shooter and being a guy who is getting downhill a ton, and it's not necessarily that he's one of the best finishing guards in basketball, but he's getting to the free throw line 9-10 times a game, that's super efficient, and that makes him preposterously hard to guard, dude. I mean, some of these plays we've seen from him where he has a high ball screen set and the big tries to come up to the level, up to like 30 feet, because Maxey has been spraying from deep as well as anybody this year. And he literally like levitates past him. I mean, he just flies. It's a crazy combination of two super valuable traits for a scoring guard. And then he's also got good stuff alongside that. He's a really good off-ball player. Always has been. And that includes not just straight spot-ups, but coming off screens. His shooting has been lethal. Off movement. He's an elite transition scorer with his speed. That's been the case for years. And one of my favorite things about Maxey, he's a super low turnover guy, which again has always been a strength of his game. But for him to now be only averaging 2 turnovers a game as he's giving you this ridiculous offensive volume, like, yes, we understand the sample is small, but 2024, he was a 26-point per game scorer, averaging 1.7 turnovers per game. So he's always been in the rarefied kind of like Shea Brunson air there when it comes to just really protecting the ball exceptionally well. And I think he looks like an improved playmaker too. Like, he is making some legit skip passes now. I saw him when he was facing a hard hedge fire a like 40-something foot baseball pass with velocity, perfectly accurate to the weak side corner. And it's like, okay, that's always been an area where Maxey has been more average. Looks like he's taken a level up there. Feels to me like he could average 28 points, 8 assists per game this year. Like, I think the usage, the minutes are going to be there. And I don't know if this efficiency is going to be held up, because that's contingent upon the crazy free throw rate and the crazy 3-point shooting. And I just haven't seen a big enough sample there. But I do really like Maxey. As I've often talked about, Logan, he was my favorite pick in that draft. I thought it was incredible that he fell as far as he did. Such a steal. And I really like these Sixers with him as the offensive engine. I know that they've beaten some shitty teams, and they've even had to come back in a couple of them, and the defense hasn't looked good. But the combination of speed, shooting, they have is really hard to guard. And then if you mix a good Joel Embiid in there, like, the potential there is very real. And as I've been saying, this team is one of the highest ceilings in the Eastern Conference. Will they reach it? That's going to hinge on Embiid, and is Maxey actually like an all-NBA level guard, or is he just an all-star level guard? Is VJ Edgecombe as good as he's been playing? I don't know. The bar has been set high there, but this team is explosive, and they are definitely legitimately good with big-time upside.
They are. I mean, and I have liked what I've seen from Embiid over the last few games. You know, we did a short check-in at the beginning of the season, and he looked really stiff, very jump shot dependent. He's been getting downhill a little bit more, working on the block a little bit more, looks a little bit more mobile. I wouldn't hold your breath on something like that, but he did look better. Yeah. And then I was really impressed with, what they did against the Wizards. I know that, you have to go to overtime to beat Washington, but Philadelphia closes that game with a 32-16 fourth quarter. The stuff that you got from Maxey, I thought in the fourth and OT was really amazing. Hits this nasty step-back midi on Keyshawn George. Really drove physically. There was a good possession in overtime where he puts his shoulder into the chest of Keyshawn George and drives baseline on him for a reverse layup. I think that's encouraging if Maxey's going to start playing more physically. And you were talking about, I don't know if it was this specific possession, but it was a high pick and roll with Sarr. And Sarr's this is in overtime. Sarr's a pretty agile big man for his size. And Bona sets this pick and roll, this screen, up near the half-court logo, and Sarr gets dragged out to the top of the key and just flies by him. Bona also had 4 blocked shots in the fourth quarter of that game. Had a big putback dunk in overtime to give them the lead. I like a lot of what Philly's doing, man, and I think Philly is probably, we were talking about the Bucks earlier. With my preseason expectations, I actually think the Sixers are probably the most surprising team in the Eastern Conference to me that I've been most impressed and surprised by. So I still remain a little bit skeptical about Embiid and Philadelphia and their big picture concerns, but I like a lot of their talent. I like their identity. They just have so many talented guards, man. Philadelphia, in my opinion, is one of the most fun watches in basketball, man.
Dude, they just pop off the screen. Like, the dynamism of what you're seeing from Maxey and VJ, the speed, the athleticism, and the shot making has been so good. And they're number one in basketball.
McCain's not even back yet, dude.
And PG hasn't played. And I understand that PG was bad last year. PG, even the version we saw last year, is a nice complementary wing who can defend reasonably well and knock down shots off the catch and bring a little ball handling and playmaking.
And I know you mentioned this. I know you mentioned this last time we talked about Philly too, but the fact that, they signed PG to this massive contract, the fact that they were able to find McCain and Edgecombe, and those guys are such immediate impact guys on rookie contracts it's like a, it's like a life raft, you know?
And they got Quentin Grimes generously gifted to them by the one and only Nico Harrison. I have also been moved by the Sixers. Now, I was higher on them coming into the year. I had them winning 42 games. And I even talked about then, Logan. Before the year, I said they have a higher ceiling than the Knicks. And you guffawed, and you said,
I didn't think there was any chance that Embiid was going to look better and better. And he has steadily. It's not been an exponential, but it's been incremental every single game.
That is encouraging. That being said, though, he played horribly in the first game. He missed the second game. He's played like 20 minutes in the last game. They're 4-0, and they're the number one offense. Like, it's much more so been about what this backcourt and these wings are doing offensively.
No doubt. I mean, I'm just talking about in the big picture perspective. I mean, they still need Embiid to be Embiid when it comes to playoff time if they want to do any damage.
They do, but they don't need him to be like top 5 player good. I just think they need him to be like top 15 player good.
Yeah, I agree.
And then it's like, they're another team that can totally make an Eastern Conference Finals run. When you talk about the highest ceilings in the East, as much as I love my Hawks, Logan, and as much as people will talk about the Knicks, I think it pretty clearly goes Cavs number 1, and then Milwaukee and Philly have the 2 next highest ceilings. And it's been really fun to see these 2 teams, one of whom has an all-time great player playing at an all-time great level in Giannis, and the other of whom just was like in such dire straits last year. It felt like it could be a bummer year for both these teams. Last year for both of them were ultimately disappointing campaigns, and now there's a lot of optimism and there's a lot of hope, and they're really fun watches, and they found their identity and they're being coached well, and those have been a couple of really exciting developments out east. So shout out to both of them. However, Logan, when we talk about a team that has not had things going so well for them, the Clippers are 2-2, but the 2 losses have been rough. They got absolutely blown out by the Utah Jazz. Then they put up 79 points against the Golden State Warriors. Is it real or fake, Logan, that the Clippers are mid?
I think it's pretty real.
Wow.
Both of them 21-point losses to Golden State and Utah. Against Utah, they just looked really slow and old. They could not defend the pick and roll at all. The action from Utah's offense was killing them. Either they were frying Zubats in the action, just getting him to defend in space and picking on him. And in the Golden State game, they were never going to win. They got outshot by 33 from deep against Golden State, but that game was ugly too. They're dead last in turnover percentage right now. That's not a good number from them. The biggest issue to me is just the lack of youth. Like, this is the oldest team in the NBA, and they have damn sure looked like it to start this season. So some of the aging and regression, I think, is a really big concern to me. Like, one of the hallmarks and strengths of this team that I thought the Clippers were going to have coming into this year was the fact that this offense was going to look better when James Harden wasn't out there on the floor with some of the additions they had made of Chris Paul, of Bradley Beal, still having Bogdan on the roster. And please take this with a grain of salt. It is an extremely small sample size, literally 35 minutes without Harden on the floor. But you watch the games, and it seems like it. They had an offensive rating of 120.6 with Harden. Very good. They have an offensive rating of 83.3 when Harden is not on the court. And it feels like it. Like some of these games, Harden goes off the court, and the offense grinds to a standstill. And I think that's a part of their issues, too. Not just the regression from some of these guys where Chris Paul looks completely washed. Bogey looks like he's regressed. Beal looks like shit. It's the fact that this offense is so stale. The Clippers run the most isolation in basketball with this old-ass group, and they are a below-average efficiency isolation offense. Also interrelated with that, they get out in transition the least in the NBA. They are the least volume transition team. And so it's like they're not creating any easy offense in transition. They're not doing anything in the half court to mix up their looks. Basically just, all right, go win one-on-one or go run a pick and roll, and then we'll figure it out. They're slow and old. So, like, I think the Clippers are still talented enough to where they are going to be mid. I just don't think they are dynamic and young enough or talented enough to bring it every single night. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, Carson. I was left with two schools of thought for my conclusion. This is an old team that is going to muddle through the regular season, and then maybe they flip a switch in the playoffs. But the conclusion that I think I'm going to reach more so is this team is too fucking old to do anything, and they are going to crash and burn by the end of the year. I lean more on the absolute disaster side of the fence than I do that this team is going to turn it around come playoff team. I thought they were going to be really good in the regular season. This feels like a play-in team, maybe.
They feel like the oldest team in NBA history.
Yeah, right? Like you remember those old Rockets teams with Hakeem and Barkley and Pippen?
They make them look like a youth group, man. They make the 98 Bulls look like some sort of children's choir. I mean, it is crazy how old they feel right now. Older than I anticipated, even looking at all the old fogies on this roster. I was a Clippers optimist. I don't disagree with much of what you've said. In fact, I agree with most of it. Like, the two horrific, lethargic performances they've had have pretty much showed everything that's wrong with them. Like you say, they are totally missing out on easy transition opportunities that other offenses are getting, being bottom of the league there. They just play really slow. They are dead last in pace, and that's where you feel their age. Like, there are some nights where they just might be missing that youthful energy and they kind of get dog walked because the other team is just quicker to the ball and playing with more pace, and the Clippers are old as hell and they can't bring it in that way every night. And also, I think that, like, there are concrete basketball ways in which you feel the lack of athleticism. We talked about transition, but also they're 28th right now in field goal attempts per game inside of 5 feet. They're missing that athletic rim pressuring from the perimeter. All of their guys who can make stuff happen with the ball in their hands are not rim pressurers. James Harden is a guy who can still get by you, but he doesn't finish well at the rim. Kawhi's rim pressure is totally deteriorated. Bradley Beal, who looked really bad in the 2 games before he got hurt, he has to look way better. He is not somebody who is still getting to the rim obviously Chris Paul literally never gets to the rim at this stage in his career. And so you just go up and down the lineup, and I was optimistic about them adding more ball handling with Beal compared to like a guy like Norman Powell, who's more of that off-ball weapon. But I think they're missing the slashing of a Norman Powell right now and in the athleticism to begin with, even though he was a flawed player too. But the other real age-related question for this team is, what level can your top two guys who are 34 and 36 years old get to? Specifically in a playoff run, when that's been the concern for these guys. James Harden having his inconsistencies, Kawhi and his issues physically holding up, and then last year not being able to reach that sort of elite gear anymore, being more like a top 15 guy in the playoffs. And I don't think that the returns are encouraging there. I think that Harden is going to have a very good regular season. The playoff stuff with him, we've seen recur over and over again. The same issues dealing with physicality, elite athleticism, his lack of rim finishing, his lack of offensive versatility. This is why you have the up and down playoff experience with him. But regular season, he was great last year. I think he'll be really good again this year. Kawhi early this year, I said he looked like a top 15 guy down the stretch of last year and in the playoffs, which isn't what he used to be, but still a great player. He's looked more like a top 30 guy to start this year. And what's so crazy is like, you just don't feel his presence in the game all that much. Kawhi has never been like a super high touch guy because he's never been that sort of like super high usage offensive player, right? He's been your super efficient, lethal scorer who can do it on and off ball and then does some playmaking for you. But he is currently tied in touches per game this year, Logan. This is in the 113th spot with Cason Wallace, with Jabari Smith Jr., and with Naz Reid. Like, they just need more out of Kawhi, and I'm not going to determine my opinions on him based off of the first 4 games of the regular season. And I did think that down the stretch last year, those last 20 games, Kawhi started being a super efficient 25-point per game scorer. And the Clippers were an elite offense and an elite defense, and they went 17-3. And that's kind of where my optimism came from about this team. But nothing has looked good early in the year. And Beal has to, again, be able to bring some offensive punch for this team. It's not looking good.
I can't believe I buried this. They are the oldest team in NBA history. They have the oldest average age, 33.2, older than the 01 Jazz, the 98 Rockets, and the 98 Bulls.
It is crazy when you take a team that was already old and then you add 40-year-old Chris Paul and 37-year-old Brook Lopez, and you've got 33-year-old Bogey and 37-year-old Batum. And I think I just looked at the players on this team and I sort of underestimated how that oldness would compound and how much you would feel that like everybody out there almost is old.
Yeah, and the other area that we haven't really discussed about the Clippers being old is defensively, and I think you feel it on that end of the floor too, where I think they could mitigate it if they were more switchable. It gets exacerbated by the fact that Zoo is this like sole drop big, and I think that stresses out the rest of this defense. And these old guys just aren't athletically equipped to make up for, you know, what they would need to do in that system. And so, like, I think, dude, these guys have been playing a lot. I think they need to lean more into, like, more John Collins, more Derrick Jones Jr., more Chris Dunn. Like, 100%. Fuck whatever offensive firepower those other guys are giving you. And I use firepower, you know, mostly in quotations. Like, I think you just need to lean as heavily on the athletic guys that you have as you can.
I totally agree. And they've started Beal or Bogey in that 2 spot every game. And the badness there has been amplified by the fact that those guys have been playing horribly. So they aren't giving you the offensive value that they're supposed to. But regardless, I think you're better off trying to replicate something closer to last year's formula, where it's Harden is our floor general offensive engine. Zoo is our great play finishing big, and he just is really great on the interior on both sides of the ball. Kawhi is like our super efficient scorer who needs to give them more, but can he get up to 25 points per game? And then it's like we need that kick-ass point of attack defender, and we need that athleticism on the floor. I absolutely think that John Collins is the guy who can make a difference for this team. I mean, he is a versatile offensive player. He is a great athlete. He can help them in the possession battle on the offensive glass. He can shoot. There's defensive ability there. Like, We need more of him. And look, Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr., they're both flawed players, absolutely, as you say. And Derrick Jones Jr. has been starting for them. But you need that perimeter defense and you need that athleticism on the court, I think, more than you need a guy like Bogey or Beal. And it's like, yeah, okay, they can be that extra ball handler for you. And that's fine. And there are moments and there are looks where you'll want that. But overall, it's like you can let them carry the non-Harden minutes for the most part. And you can put the kind of guys who fill in the gaps for a Harden, Kawhi, Zoo core as your big three on this team, and those guys are the athletes. That's what this team feels like they're missing most. So there's definitely concerns here. I also think that there are clear avenues for improvement, though, and maybe I am still banking too much on the talent and the fact that this is a team that already won 50 games last year and then I think got more good basketball players and got more front court depth, and they did get more ball handlers, and they just should be better on paper. So I am definitely banking still on paper at this point, but they have a lot of basketball strengths there. There's no question that we've seen their age. That's been more of a factor than I think I anticipated, and probably should have anticipated more, considering they are the oldest team in NBA history. But they still just looked so good last year. And I like their offseason, and it's been a troubling start to the year. But at the end of the day, I think if their players play up to their potential, this can still be a pretty good defense. And if they play the right guys in the right combinations, and quite a good offense, and they have good depth, and they have stars, and I'm going to say that this is fake because of that. I'm not going to say that they're mid. Yeah. I still think this is a team that can win 50 games.
Wow.
Yeah, I do.
I think I'm out on that.
I like the Warriors more than them now. That is a team that, although ironically, also their core guys are old, they never feel like it. I mean, the Warriors.
I don't know, man.
Fluid,
it's like, do you trust
more dynamic?
Do you trust Ty Lue to like make these adjustments and make these changes?
I do. I think Ty Lue's a great coach, and I think sometimes 4 games feels like a bigger sample size than it is when it's 100% of the sample size you have on the season so far, but it's also less than 5% of the sample size.
I don't know, man. This
by
feels
the end of the year.
I think that they're going to find their way to 500. I think 50 games, I would be surprised. This feels like a sinking ship.
I'm going to hold out hope.
And they're the Clippers. Damn, man. How about that?
Yeah. I will say, the pace stuff. I understand that it's Harden ball and it's slow half-court offense, but like even the difference between last year when they were 22nd in pace to this year, as everybody else around them is playing faster. We're seeing the fastest pace league-wide since 1986. The Clippers are playing slower, and it's like almost a cliche of like, okay, we get it. You're old. You don't have to make yourselves feel older by doing these like specifically old man kind of things. But I think they are a team that will play their way into 4 more. They're a team that actually peaked late in the year last year, and so there's still some potential here that I'm going to hold out hope for. Hasn't been a good start, but I am more of a believer in the Clippers than you are, it seems. Are you a believer, Logan, in the undefeated Chicago Bulls? Is this real or fake, their 4-0 start to the year?
Well, I think the undefeated part of it, it's kind of fake, but I do think there are some real things about it. Like, I love the Bulls' offense. 30.5 assists per game. They are number 2 in the league right now. They've got 3 players averaging more than 5 assists per game: Giddey, Trey Jones, and Vucevic. This team plays fast, up-tempo. There is a ton of ball movement, and there's lots of pick and roll. They are the 5th most efficient transition offense in basketball. They're 3rd in transition points per game. They are the 4th most efficient cutting offense in basketball. And this team, the exact opposite of the Clippers, they run the fewest amount of isolation in the NBA. So I buy the offense. Like, I think that the offense is going to look pretty good. I like what I've seen from the group. The ball doesn't stick to guys' hands. They play unselfishly. They find space, and they attack in it. I think Buzelis has looked pretty damn good to start the season. I like what I've seen from him. The thing that I think's fake about this is I don't believe the Bulls are the number 4 defense in the NBA right now. Their opponent three-point percentage is 25.9%, and it checks out. For reference, that is the number 1 mark in the NBA. That's because they've played the Pistons, the Magic, the Hawks, and the Kings. Like, It's not because the Bulls are this elite perimeter defense. It's because they've played those teams. So I'll say this. I think it's real in the sense that I was wrong about Chicago. I think Chicago can get into the playoffs. I think that is very much on the table. And while I don't like this defense, what I do like about Chicago is a lot of their guys have size and skill. There's not a lot of small bodies that you can attack, right? Like the smallest guys that are going to be getting burned for this team are Trey Jones, Kobe White, and Dosunmu. Everybody else is, even Giddey, right? Giddey's 6'7", 6'8". Buzelis is pretty big. So
6'7", very good, Logan.
Yes,
very
I had to make sure. That's
really well.
I don't want to go viral again.
It's too much. It's too much on our families and the paparazzi, and it's just too much.
But I'm surprised. I thought Chicago was going to suck, dude. I thought, I'd be encouraged by Buzelis or something like that, and that'd be my big take. I think the Bulls can get into the playoffs, and so for that reason, I'll say this is real.
Fake, fake, fake. I've never seen anything faker in my life. I'm ringing the bell. I'm sounding the alarms. This is fake.
Carson, Chicago fans haven't had anything to be excited about in 15 years, man.
I know, and unfortunately,
cut him some slack.
This is not it. However, everybody should be excited about Buzelis because he is the man. He was my pick to win Most Improved, and he's been awesome outside of the one game in which he fouled out in 13 minutes. But the other 3 games,
his handle is so, dude. His progression is almost unbelievable. The guy that I watched as a prospect, man, he is completely transformed.
All of the potential that he had, he's tapping into the driving, the finishing. He hasn't shot the ball super well so far, but I think that his shot does look improved overall. Yeah, he's an all-around stud. And I do like that the Bulls are playing fast. I think that suits Buzelis, who's great in transition. It suits Giddey. That's where he's best offensively. He can't exploit his issues in the half court. And, a playmaker of his size, a ball handler, that's where he's going to thrive. And I like the ball movement. So the things that you've highlighted that you like, I don't disagree with. I just don't think that they're maybe as significant as you do. And I think that the defense is the fakest in recent
You think
memory.
They've capitalized off of playing some pretty dog shit offenses?
Dude, I mean, you can't overstate that number that you said. Their opponents are shooting
It's absurd.
25.9% from 3. That is such ridiculous luck. To add more context to that, their opponents are shooting 27.8% on wide open threes. That is dead last in the NBA. Normally, teams shoot 38% on wide open threes. A team like Brooklyn is getting shafted. Their opponents are making 52% of their wide open threes. That's the kind of range that we're talking about this early in the season, and that is pure luck. That is pure luck. That is fully unguarded. There isn't a defender within 6 feet of you. People are just bricking against Chicago. They're also bricking on open threes. They're shooting 27% on those, which is 26th in the NBA. So when they're kind of eking out a couple of these wins and they've got very good shooting luck, and the offense, which is obviously actually the stronger side of the ball for this team, has still been average. They're 15th in offensive rating, and their defensive personnel is still bad, and they are below average in terms of 2-point defense. They are dead last in forced turnover percentage. It's how is it possible that this team is 4-0?
He's dropping bombs.
I'm just saying, they are getting lucky as fuck. Sometimes that happens in the first week of a season. And the other hot starts, I think there's much more real stuff to be excited about, like we just praised with Philly. But this is fake. This is the definition of a fake start, in my opinion, because also I think there's some fake shooting going in Chicago's favor right now. Vooch, Trey Jones, Patrick Williams, and Ayo are all shooting 50% or better from 3. Giddey is shooting 43% from 3, and I know that he was shooting it better down the stretch last year. I still am not a believer in the Josh Giddey jump shot, so I just think it's going to come crashing down to earth fast. I just don't think they have the talent. They don't have the high-end offensive talent in the half court. In transition, I think they'll be a good offense, but in the half court, there's a lot of clunkiness there still, with Giddey being your primary ball handler. He's still very, very flawed. And defensively, they just don't have the personnel at all. They're a bad defense. They have bad point of attack defenders. They have a bad defensive big. They have Buzelis, who's a good defensive wing. it's just not nearly enough for me to buy into anything here. They're a high turnover team. They're a low turnover forcing team, which was a problem for them last year too. And coming up on the schedule, Logan, Knicks, Sixers, Bucks, Cavs, Spurs, Pistons. I predict the Bulls are 5-6 after that. And everybody forgets this start ever happened.
Except if they go 5-6, you know what they could be.
Yeah, I know. They could be 6-7 shortly thereafter.
You sold it. Carson Breber from the top rope drops a fucking elbow to the heart of all Bulls fans. Damn, dude. You drove a dagger through the heart. They dressed up as vampires today, and you killed them, man.
I drove a truck through the streets of Chicago.
Are you next up out of Atlanta?
God, I hope so, man. God, I hope so. I'm sorry, Bulls fans. I'm just preparing you for what's coming. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. I don't think I'm wrong about this.
I don't think this is a great team by any means, but they are better than I expected coming into the season. So shout out Chicago.
Look, man, can they get in the play-in where they always want to be? Yes. I mean, last episode you were talking about Charlotte's potential to the playoffs. It's like the East, man.
It's hilarious. It's actually hilarious.
The Pacers are not good. They've had a tough schedule to start the year, but they're 29th in offensive rating, I believe. I thought they were going to fall off a lot, and they have. The Celtics are not good. You look around, and there's just not very many good teams in the conference. There's absolutely opportunity,
real quick,
if the Bulls want, to maybe steal the 8th seed. Maybe.
Revised question from our preview content.
Although I like the Heat more than the Bulls, I'll tell you that much.
He looked good.
Yeah.
Nets win less than 11 games.
No, I can't get there. But
they look like shit, though, man. They look horrible.
Well, I picked them to win 16, I think. I was expecting them to look like shit. They are terrible.
Over under 15.5.
I'll stick with 16. Why not?
Okay. I'm ready.
Because, Logan, what you have to account for is the fact that they're getting brutal three-point shooting luck right now from their opponents. And once that balances out, they'll win a couple games.
I suppose.
They're putting a mic in front of MPJ's face, and he's saying, yeah, our young point guards suck. That's the problem. It's like, huh, okay, MPJ. All right.
They do.
Putting you in the
Why are you booing me? I'm right.
Well, I just think there's a lot more problems than that in Brooklyn right now. There's a whole lot of problems. However, there's another young team, Logan, that is much more on the up and up, that's got to be feeling better. Real or fake? The currently 3-2 Portland Trailblazers are a playoff caliber team.
Yeah, man, I'm going to say real. Playoff caliber. I think they meet that bill. You know, I was banging the Blazers drum before the season started. I was really excited about them. I called an audible for some other teams to make the playoffs, and I think they were the first team out of my play-in at the end of our predictions. But I'm impressed. I mean, they have a ton of athletes in defensive hounds, and that was the, reason this team was good last year and great down the stretch. They're 6th in defensive rating right now. They are number 1 in steals per game with 12.2. They have notched 10 or more steals in all 5 games this year, and they're also number 1 in pace. And so they're turning this defense into offense at a really high level. They're the number 1 transition scoring team in basketball at 35.4 per game. Kamara and Avdia are an awesome wing defensive tandem. Donovan Clingan is such an upgrade over a guy like DeAndre Ayton and what he does for your team defense and rebounding. He's 3rd in offensive rebound rate right now. And the new addition, Drew Holiday, I have loved everything about him being introduced to this team. What he brings defensively just as a mind, but also just as this steadying presence offensively, man, as a table setter, as a decision maker, as an initial advantage creator. I think sometimes, I can't speak for everybody. For me, I think that might be my most underappreciated basketball archetype. I kind of disrespected Fred VanVleet with Houston, and I was like, that's not going to be that big of a deal. I think I underrate that player archetype more than anybody else, and I can kind of overlook it and how valuable it can be. They aren't the most efficient scorers or anything, but just what they do to make their teammates better and to alleviate some of the pressure of running an offense. And it's like, a guy like Drew Holiday's been doing this for 15 seasons. Fred VanVleet has been doing this a decade. Like, I think I can kind of underappreciate those kind of skill sets. And I think Drew just brings a winning skill set and a steadying presence to this basketball team that they desperately have needed. And they're not fully healthy yet. I'm interested to see what's going to happen when Scoot gets healthy and Time Lord and what all that's going to look like. But right now, this is a great defensive team and a team that has been really great at turning defense into offense. So because of that, yeah, man, I think Portland can kind of go toe-to-toe with anybody and is going to bring it defensively every night. So I'm bought in, man. I think this is real.
I agree. I think this is real. I really like Portland. And by the way, you're mentioning Fred VanVleet, and I do think that his absence matters, but I did want to very quickly shout out the Rockets. Actually, I believe now they have the number one offense. I think they have unseated the Sixers, and shout out Şengün's playmaking, shout out KD's shot making, and shout out Steven Adams, Logan, the greatest offensive rebounder of this century, averaging 9 offensive rebounds per 36 minutes.
Dude, isn't his rebound rate like over 30% right now?
It is stupid. He is the GOAT, and the Rockets are weird, and the Rockets are fun, but the Blazers are also really fun, and there are several things that they just flat out excel at. You mentioned the ability to force turnovers. Absolutely. They're also the number one transition scoring offense in basketball, and that's where they're going to thrive. They've got a shit ton of athletic wings. Denny is flat out one of the best transition scorers in basketball. I mean, just a crazy combination of downhill speed and power and size and footwork and finishing skill. Shaedon Sharpe is a very good transition scorer. They're also number 4 in offensive rebound percentage. So they're not doing Steven Adams, Houston Rockets stuff, but they've got good size and athletes at every position. Like you mentioned, Drew. I mean, that's a big point guard. Their wings are big and athletic. And they've got 2 specifically elite offensive rebounders. Toumani Camara is a great offensive rebounding wing, and Donovan Clingan might already be a top 3 offensive rebounder in the sport. Like, outside of the one and only Steven Adams, the GOAT, and Mitchell Robinson, I think, is still probably number 2. I just don't think anybody is better at cleaning the offensive glass than Donovan Clingan. He's averaged 6 offensive rebounds per 36 since he entered the league. His production there has even gone up a tick early this year. And then he is also one of the absolute best rim protectors in basketball. So Portland is 4th in opponent field goal percentage differential at the rim. And again, they have good aggregate length and athleticism from their wings there, but Clingan is just this absurd deterrent and rim protector. He's holding opposing players 22% below their average field goal percentage at the rim. And the sample size is so small, but it was like 14% last year. I mean, he's a top 3 offensive rebounder, arguably a top 5 pure rim protector. Like, what Donovan Clingan is great at, and it's very much interrelated to being 7'2", 280-something pounds, absolute mountain of a man. So that, combined with the athleticism of the wings, gives them all of these strengths. And then also, you mentioned Drew, and I think he's been a hugely positive addition with his basketball IQ, but I do think this is just a smart team overall. They're top 10 in assist percentage. They have a few high field passers. Drew has been the best, but Denny, Kamara, even Clingan is a pretty good passing big. They play smart on both sides of the ball, and then they also do have wing scoring punch. Like, Denny is a star level player. He's averaging 23, 8, and 4 to start this year, and I think he could sustain that. He went on this really hot run down the stretch of last year, and it was March, April basketball, so you take it with a grain of salt, but he's just a very complete downhill wing who's so effective as a scorer there and can also play make and is a good defender and is a pretty good jump shooter. So he's pretty damn good. And Jeremy Grant has really bounced back for them. I mean, he's given them some punch. Shaedon Sharpe has shot it terribly. He's leading the team in field goal attempts, though. So how refined, how efficient, how effective is Shaedon Sharpe going to be when it comes to winning basketball games this year? I don't know how sold I am on that, but he is definitely going to feature pretty heavily into this offense, and he is somebody who can score in bunches for you at times and can bring you a bit of a spark. So overall, I look at this team, and they're smart, they're athletic as shit, they're going to be an elite defense, That's always been where I've been highest on this team. I think they'll be a top 5 defense this year. They play well together. They've got a clear identity. Chauncey Billups is gone. Don't know where he went. You know, Logan, Basketball Reference, they just wiped away his existence for this year. I went and I looked, and they said Tiago Splitter is 3-2 as head coach for the Blazers. No mention of Chauncey Billups for this year. So Chauncey Billups has been wiped from the records, I guess. And this team has some superpowers, and I love that. I love that when you have things that you can do at an A-plus level, even if you have flaws elsewhere, and if you lean into those things, like half-court offense is ultimately going to limit this team. And it is. There's no way around it. The fact that they don't have that real high-end creator in the half court, and the fact that there's still some shooting questions for this team, like I think they're mediocre there overall, that's why they're not going to go out there and win a playoff series this year in this brutal West. But they can win 45 games, even in this tough West, off of what they do well. I was excited about them coming into the year, shouted them out even after an opening day loss to Minnesota, but they played really well in that game. When you are this athletic and you play this hard and you defend this well and you get out in transition, you'll win games like that. They have the talent to do it, and I really like the Portland Trailblazers. I do. And I think Donovan Clingan just remains underrated because I love Buzelis. He would be number 1 for me in a 2024 redraft, but Donovan Clingan would be number 2 just because he's so bankably great at the things that you need him to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Clingan was my rookie of the year last year. People gave me shit for it, but I thought on a per-minute basis he was the most impactful, and I still to this day cannot believe the Charlotte Hornets passed up on him.
I know. And by the way, I don't disagree with what you're saying on the per-minute basis. I just didn't think that Clingan played enough last year to win the award, but he was great, and that's why I thought he was a breakout candidate for this year. Not that he's ever going to put up the flashy, sexy numbers necessarily, but he will average 13 rebounds a game if you let him, and 2.5 blocks a game with top-tier rim protection, and there's a little passing field to tap into there, and enough offensively for him to be an efficient scorer. Shout out to Donovan Clingan. And shout out to the NBA, Logan. Those were our real or fake questions of the day. Now we are going to run through our NFL contender rankings, Logan. Do you just want to go 10 through 1? Just blast them? Just blast the people right in the face?
Pause. I'm so down on that, though.
Okay, you go, man.
10, I have the Denver Broncos finally entering my power rankings at number 9, returning, I believe, every team above them on this list. I have the Seattle Seahawks, number 8. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 7. I have the Indianapolis Colts at number 6. I have the Buffalo Bills at number 5. I have the Los Angeles Rams. Number 4, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 3, I have the Green Bay Packers. At number 2, I have the Detroit Lions. And at number 1, I have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Interesting. Not that much has changed for me. I've actually kept the same 10 teams. I kept the Chargers in at number 10. I really debated the Broncos. I did, but I still have enough concerns about that Denver offense. And I think when Joe Alt plays for the Chargers, they're a different football team. And I think if we're talking about contender rankings, we're thinking about what this team will look like when it matters most. And that's when the Herbert factor is what really moves me, trusting the offense a lot more. At 9, I have the Seahawks. Great defense, been a great passing offense, just a good football team. 8, I have the Bucks. Little inconsistent offensively, continue to have these injury issues that maybe aren't going away. Good, not great defense. So the 5-1 start, it wasn't fake, but it was a little bit fortunate. So I've moved them down just a little bit. 7, I have the Rams. Same formula of Stafford and the pass rush, but is the secondary good enough? I think they are maybe not as stacked everywhere as the teams I have above them. At 6, I have the Lions. 5, I have the Colts. I've had to just keep moving them up, man. I think the offense is the most consistent in football. I think the defense is getting the most out of their personnel, and they've been the best team in the NFL. I just have the big 4 above them because I trust the pedigree of these teams more, basically. At number 4, I have the Bills. I think the offense is amazing and found its form again this past week, especially in the run game. Just still have some questions about the defense. 3, I have the Eagles. Their offense has looked better. They're still very talented. They've got to be more consistent offensively, but as we've talked about a bunch, everybody's flawed this year. At 2, I have the Packers. I think we saw them really hit their stride again in the second half this past week especially, and their ceiling is so high. Yeah, Steelers tax. You're saying Steelers tax? Wipe it off the board?
Yeah, I'm saying it's not that impressive. Everybody does that to the Steelers this year.
Well, I was pretty freaking impressed by some of the throws that Jordan Love was making, by the fact that they were getting the run game going again. That's got to be more consistent, but the defense is stacked. They're very well coached. The offense can be very balanced. And at number 1, I have the Chiefs. I just trust them the most. The defense has been playing better. The offense at full strength looks phenomenal. They're very well coached. And they've been playing great football for an extended stretch now. We do have Chiefs-Bills coming up this week, Logan. That's going to be a big one. We will make our game picks for that. You will see it all on the graphic, and you will see these rankings on a graphic. And if you're thinking, oh my God, I'm so starved for NFL content, all these guys do is talk about the woke far-left NBA. Don't worry. We've got midseason awards coming up next week, Logan. Everybody's fake award show that we've been talking about. We've been trying to force these awards conversations since like week 1 because we're such fiends for it. That's coming up this week. And if you're thinking, oh no, wait, then where's my NBA content going to be? It's going to be there too. Don't worry. We're just hamsters on a wheel, man, churning out this content for you guys. And if you're like, wait, these full episodes, that's not enough. I've got great news. We got the video essays we do on our YouTube channel. I just made one about AJ Mitchell and Chet Holmgren's breakout. If you hadn't have enough Thunder glaze, it's more in detail there. You can check out all of our social media content, original takes that we do there, clips from the show, graphics from the show, TikToks, trivia. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh. You can also join our Discord if you want to chat with the gang over there. And, you can get the pod everywhere. YouTube, audio, whatever you like. And I hope everybody has a wonderful Halloween. What are you going to do, Logan? Are you just going to go terrorizing kids again like you did last year? Or are we not supposed to talk about that on the pod? Should we cut that?
I am not going to do anything. I am going to sit on my couch.
Because you have sciatica. You are cosplaying as LeBron.
I have been
Halloween.
hiding this from the big media. I didn't want the story getting out there. I am suffering from sciatica. I am so fucking old, Carson. Oh my
real.
God.
And this is
real. It's not even a joke. I have a pillow under my butt right now because it hurts to sit. I mean,
Logan
come on,
came on
man.
to the last pod. He was hunched over. He looked like my grandpa did when he was 92 years old. And I feel for you, buddy. But at least you have something in common with the GOAT. I mean, the GOAT
True.
for now.
I bit his whole flow, bro. Can't have shit.
Yeah, you should be LeBron for Halloween. Because you
True.
guys have a lot in common. You should be Ant for Halloween one year.
Yeah, the same. Me and LeBron have the same hairline, same natural hairline.
Hello. How about Jaylen Brown painting on his hair?
Dude, just let it go, JB. It's not that deep.
Dude, that was the funniest thing
That was
I've ever
hilarious.
seen. It was absurd. Like, that was better than Carlos Boozer's.
Way better.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The NBA Logan, where amazing happens. When are they going to bring back those commercials? Where amazing
For
happens.
real.
What a great tagline. Now it's where Adam Silver finds a way to bungle every possible situation. But the league is still amazing. But in spite of Adam Silver, who, if he continues to fuck up, if he fucks up this Clippers aspiration thing, and if it really comes out that they were totally neglectful in their gambling investigations, which seems possible, then Adam Silver, I'm going to have some words with you, my friend. And I'll just leave it at that. And we'll see how these situations play out. But there's an Adam Silver take brewing in my mind, just so everybody knows. So with that, as always, we appreciate you guys. Hope you all enjoy the holiday. And with that, I've been Carson Breber, a.k.a. Liam Cohen.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.